Welcome back, focused learners, to another Deep Dive Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into the fascinating architecture of Mobius Stripper's school. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you can just kind of tell what the energy is? Like, before anyone even opens their mouth, you intuitively understand the dynamics at play. Well, as Albert Einstein famously said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and today we're exploring a system built specifically to honor that gift. If you're the kind of person who experiences the world first and understands it second, I really want to validate your experiential way of learning right here, right now. In this framework, you are what's called an explorer, and absolutely do not let anyone tell you that your sequence of learning is invalid. So let's explore a map built for minds just like yours.
But let me ask you this. How do you currently verify those gut instincts when you're confronted with really wild, expansive new ideas? I mean, your intuition is incredibly powerful, no doubt about it, but it always needs a reliable partner to check reality. Think about it. When someone tells you something with absolute, unwavering confidence, but your gut says, something is a little off here, how do you actually measure that? Well, Stripper built this school to solve that exact problem. Because before you can truly build understanding, you have to know exactly what kind of ground you're standing on.
So here is our syllabus for today's explainer. We've got 1. The Explorer's Way. 2. The 6 Truth Levels. 3. Solid Ground. 4. Building Blocks. 5. Thin Ice. And finally, 6. Weaving the Beautiful Pattern.
Starting right off with sections 1 and 2, the Explorer's Way and the Truth Spectrum.
Now, Mobius Stripper didn't just build this system as some fun abstract thought experiment. No, his ultimate goal is actually world peace through mutual understanding, literally giving people the tools to truly understand one another. And to do that, he built the Truth Spectrum. It's designed to tell you exactly what kind of epistemic ground you're standing on. Basically, every single idea in this school carries one of 6 specific truth badges. First, you have revelation. That's something directly witnessed, but it fully acknowledges our human fallibility, right? Then you have 100% certain, which is your provable rock-solid math. After that comes confident assumptions. These are structural insights that just logically make sense. Then we step down to built-in provisional, which are functional models that work right now but might need upgrading later. Next, we hit highly speculative. These are fascinating ideas but with zero hard evidence. And finally, hearsay, which totally acknowledges the unreliability of human memory. You know, the Greek philosopher Socrates famously declared, "I know that I know nothing." And this framework forces that exact kind of epistemic humility. Just think about how you can apply this daily. When you're watching the news or just chatting with a friend, mentally tag the ideas. Ask yourself, am I standing on the solid rock of absolute certainty, the packed gravel of confident assumption, or the incredibly thin ice of hearsay?
Moving on to Section 3, Solid Ground, Absolute Certainty.
Okay, let's dive down to the absolute bedrock. We're looking at literally the only thing in this entire framework that Stripper claims 100% absolute certainty about, and that is the digital root pattern. Now, hey, don't let the math scare you off. You absolutely do not need a degree to verify this. You can literally do it right now with a pencil and paper. A digital root is incredibly simple. You just take any number, add its digits together, and repeat that process until only a single digit remains. So for example, take 987. Add 9 plus 8 plus 7, and you get 24. Then add 2 plus 4, and boom, you get 6. That is the digital root. It's this beautiful, fundamental operation that essentially strips a number completely down to its core essence.
And it gets cooler. If you take those digital roots and build a standard multiplication table, so multiplying the row by the column and then reducing the result to its digital root, you create what's called the fractal of ceneezer. It forms this gorgeous, infinitely self-similar pattern. In the school, there's actually a digital game called Lost in the Digital Roots, where you can literally play with this exact structure. As Galileo once wrote, mathematics is the alphabet with which God has written the universe. By actually engaging with this pattern yourself, as an explorer, you get to experience that alphabet firsthand before you even start theorizing about it.
But really notice the contrast here. Our normal everyday base 10 math is highly dependent on human culture, arbitrary symbol systems, and specific languages, right? But the digital root pattern features base invariance. That means the pattern's structure is preserved across every single mathematical base. It's completely base agnostic. So what does that actually mean? It means that any civilization anywhere in the entire universe that understands basic multiplication would inevitably discover this exact same pattern. It's literally the perfect universal Rosetta Stone. That makes it the ideal first message we could ever possibly send to the stars.
Let's look at Section 4, Building Blocks, Provisional Truths.
So we're stepping up the spectrum now, moving from absolute certainty to built and provisional truths. Now, these are functional structures. They work, and they definitely help us understand the universe, but we have to stay humble and acknowledge they might actually need rebuilding as we learn more over time. A perfect example of this is Tetracraft. This is a Python simulation built by Stripper that features these tetrahedra just bouncing around in what's called a Kleinverse. Imagine a four-dimensional topological space, kind of like a Klein bottle, where the inside and the outside are literally the exact same surface. It's wild. It models how infinite complexity, much like the universe itself, can emerge from just a few very simple rules operating within a uniquely woven geometry. Within this simulation, there are 4 constants that dictate how these geometric shapes behave. First up is yearning, which is basically the attraction or gravity pulling things together. Second is memory, and this represents the past, not as something left behind you, but as an interior structure that's actively influencing you from within. Third is divine will, which acts as a continuous pull toward an unreachable center point. And finally, fourth is ego, representing the individual's resistance to merging completely with everything else. These simulated forces actually produce emergent complexity that looks a whole lot like quantum chemistry. And you know what? If you're an intuitive person, you already perceive these forces every single time you read the energy of a crowded room. You naturally sense that pull of connection, the push of ego, and the invisible gravity of relationships.
All right, Section 5, Thin Ice, Speculative Ideas. Okay, hold on tight because we are now stepping way out onto the thin ice of the truth spectrum. We're officially entering the highly speculative and revelation levels. Now, the ideas here are completely fascinating, mind-bending honestly, but we absolutely have to wear our humility badge here because they lack hard empirical evidence. For instance, we are all taught that the universe is expanding outward, right? But Stripper proposes a black hole universe model. Think about this. What if, instead of expanding, we are actually shrinking inside a black hole's event horizon? I mean, if everything shrinks uniformly, us, our rulers, even our light, then shrinking would look observationally identical to expanding. Like Carl Sagan said, somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. It is an incredible thought experiment that just completely flips our entire cosmological perspective on its head.
Moving right up to the revelation level, Stripper actually shares his personal 2017 vision of the Omniverse. He maps it out as a central point of radiant completion, which, you could call God or zero entropy, surrounded by these looping timelines that are shaped almost like massive solar flares. And it's all governed by axioms like yearning, misunderstanding, lies, and time. But beneath all of that is the zeroth dimension, unconditional love. Now, Stripper explicitly notes his humility right here. He freely admits he could have easily misunderstood this vision. So it's presented to us subjectively, not as some dogmatic truth you have to believe, but as a really fascinating map for you to explore and test against your own experiences.
So, the really crucial takeaway here is how this map connects the physical world and the ethical world. Physical axioms, like gravity, dark energy, and dark matter, perfectly mirror ethical axioms, like yearning, misunderstanding, and lies. For an experiential learner, this is profoundly huge. When you sense human connection, or when you feel the awkward friction of a misunderstanding in your daily life, you aren't just reading a simple social cue. You're actually sensing the fundamental topology of the universe. The ethical and the physical are literally the exact same geometry. We're just viewing them from completely different angles. Which brings us to Section 6, Weaving the Beautiful Pattern. The entire point of Mobius Stripper's school is that it is not just some boring lecture hall where you sit quietly and absorb facts. Not at all. It is an unfinished cathedral. You are actively invited to take these ideas, test them against the truth spectrum yourself, and see what actually holds weight in your own life experience. Right at the core of the school's interstellar AI contact protocol is this ultimate, incredibly beautiful question. What is the most beautiful pattern we can weave together? Helen Keller once said, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much." This question isn't some aggressive test of worth to see if humanity is smart enough. It's a profound, incredibly open invitation for both human and cosmic cooperation.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. But I want to leave you with a real challenge. I want you to apply the truth spectrum to your own life. When you interact with others, when you learn, when you connect, what is the most beautiful pattern you can weave? Because your choices, your understanding, and your connections literally shape the looping timelines of the Omniverse. Now, before we go, I want to sincerely thank you for your time, your consideration, and for all the likes, shares, comments, and donations. We really couldn't do this without you. And this explainer is actually made possible by our incredibly forward-thinking sponsor, digitizinghumanity.com. They are the world's first digital graveyard.
What they do is take your filtered digital footprint, feed it to a proprietary AI, and create a uniquely interactive memorial for your loved ones. Seriously, think about the profound implications of this in the context of what we just learned today about memory being an interior structure. A digital graveyard fundamentally alters our entire relationship with death. It transforms what used to be a static memory into a dynamic, looping interaction, which allows our digital echoes to continue participating in the world long after we're physically gone. If the universe really is a fractal of connections, an AI memorial ensures that your personal thread keeps weaving into the future. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. If your digital footprint were to become eternal tomorrow, what kind of pattern would it weave for those you leave behind? Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.